The Angry Chicken is a production of Amove TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC. And if you would like to see a live recording of The Angry Chicken, come on out to CreateCon in Orlando this July. Tickets and info over at createconvention.net.
Hey everyone! Get in here!
Ready for action!
I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
Greetings and welcome back, everyone. This is The Angry Chicken. I'm Garrett Weinzierl. I'm sitting here with Jocelyn Moffat, and filling in for Willie Dills Gregory today is our buddy. You may know him from Night Attack or The Jury Show or showing up on the morning stream. We just know him as our Hearthstone friend, Justin Robert Young. Thank you for coming, sir.
Oh, always a pleasure, guys. I feel like I've been on like twice within like a month. Like I'm starting to feel comfortable here on amongst you chickens.
It's almost like we like talking to you, and almost like you're always on Skype when I need you to be.
Yes, finally, my lack of friends and free schedule is reaping dividends.
Yeah. So Dill's had to bow out last minute. He's with his sick grandmother, sadly. So we hope she's doing well. But Justin, you're here to fill in for him. But yeah, you do a ton of podcasts. If folks don't know, I rambled some off at the top. I highly recommend Night Attack. It's hysterical. I've been on it. Dills has been on it. Jocelyn, have you been on it?
I have not.
We gotta change that. We gotta change that. We have to find something great to bring you on for that. That'll be great.
Yeah, it's very fun and rather difficult for me to explain to people who've never listened to it before exactly what it's about. But
it's a comedy show. Me and Brian Brushwood hanging out and just kind of exploring the internet. It is really as if two old friends are just kind of having a very, very loud and obnoxious Skype call, and because it's really what it is.
That's remarkably accurate.
Almost like he has to explain it more than once.
Yeah, almost as if I've been doing it for 8 years.
Yep. So before we get into it, I want to remind our listeners that you can head on over to squarespace.com right now, build yourself an awesome website, and if you use the code TAC at checkout, you will get 10% off your first order. So head on over there, because Amove TV is a Squarespace site. Jocelyn, your website is a Squarespace site.
It is.
And they make some good stuff. So check them out, use the code TAC, get a discount. We thank them for their support. Now, before I get into the Hearthstone news, let's also mention that Jocelyn, you guys are coming out to Florida in like almost a month from now. Imminently. It is just around the corner. I may be having fever dreams.
You got this, dude. How hard could it possibly be?
Listen, and hopefully this will just be a good little touchstone, and we can move on, because obviously this is a show about Hearthstone and the fun, trivial elements of life. But if you were considering coming out to CreateCon, now is a tremendous time to support downtown Orlando. Downtown Orlando is something that has always kind of struggled and been this like weird place where a lot of money comes in and things don't stay open. So in general, now more than ever, it needs good money, good people to come in and give it a chance because of what happened over the weekend. So if you needed one more reason to come out to this one-day conference, this is a huge time to support downtown Orlando.
Yeah, and thank you again to the amove.tv community. I thanked you guys on Embrace the Spoilers yesterday when Jocelyn and I were spoiling Game of Thrones. And I'm going to thank you again because I put up a post on the Amove site basically just linking to a Time article where it had kind of listed out all the different ways that you can help Orlando if you wanted to, because this is my home. I live here, and this hit really close to home. We have all of our fireside gatherings in downtown Orlando, minutes away from where the shooting took place, and it's been a hard weekend for me. So I have been hearing from tons of you that you've gone out and given blood or donated money to the victims, and all I have to say is just thank you so much. It means the world to me, and obviously going a long way to help the victims of this just terrible attack. So thank you guys, really appreciate it. So that said, you two will be coming out to CreateCon. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll definitely still be happening in Orlando, because it's worked out as such a great place to have it for the Fireside, and that's where we're going to be having CreateCon. And I also wanted to let everyone know right off the top of the bat, there's really no easy way to segue out of what we were just discussing, but Jocelyn and I will be getting together with our good friend Kyle Ferguson from Into the Nexus, and we'll be doing a special episode of Embrace the Spoilers to spoil the Warcraft movie. So if you are not subscribed to the Embrace the Spoilers feed, just look up Embrace the Spoilers on iTunes, on Google Play, wherever it is that you're finding podcasts, and grab that, because we'll be throwing up a Warcraft movie spoiler show for you guys tomorrow afternoon. So
because that's normally Game of Thrones, right? You guys rock the Game of Thrones spoilers.
It actually started as a Force Awakens one-off, and I didn't know where else to put it, so I was like, screw it, I'll start a new feed. And it's just
New
been
show.
laying dormant, and then Jocelyn and I were like, kind of want to talk about Game of Thrones. Well, what are we going to do it on? Well, I'm like, well, I have this feed just collecting dust. We could just brush it off. And
See, Garrett, I love that you are walking down this same path that I did, where it's just every problem is the solution is just create another podcast until people have no idea how many podcasts you do, and neither do you.
I distinctly remember at one point in my life going, Justin has a Doctor Who podcast? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything can be solved with another podcast.
It can. Well, most things. Most things. The problem of having too many podcasts cannot be solved with another podcast. But
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah,
nonetheless.
the secondary part of it is don't be afraid to stop doing the podcast. Don't let them hold you hostage.
Yes, absolutely. And I have stopped many a podcast. So anyways, there's quite a bit of Hearthstone news to discuss this week, so let's dive right into it.
Good news, everyone!
Oh, yes! Ben Brode made a very delightful, horribly shot video where he announced that we were getting some user interface updates to Hearthstone last week. This is referred to internally as Game Mode ID. We know it as our name and our opponent's name in the top left and bottom left-hand corner of our game screen when we're playing a game. So it's got your name. If you're playing ranked, it has your rank. If it has your opponent's rank. Well, that's getting a big update, and it's going to have all these specific uses for each and every way that you can play Hearthstone. So there's going to be an arena-specific version where it displays your current win count below it. So you're going to be able to see how many losses you have below it, and you're going to have how many wins above that.
That one actually, it seems to be almost the biggest update out of all of these. Just the change to Arena to actually give you some sort of feeling of rank or importance when you're actually in the arena game. I think that's a huge update, and that's really, really cool. And the way that they actually display everything, very Hearthstone-esque without being too in your face, given that they're giving you basically your wins and losses. Like, it's really visually appealing without being overwhelming.
Yeah. You want to know what this reads to me? As like things they would have loved to have had out before the massive rebalancing and whispers and like them basically setting the future template for the future of the game. Like this, I'm sure this stuff has been on the board, in the works, like just 80% done for a little bit. And then it's like, no, you want to know what? All hands on deck. We need to like focus everything on making sure that like these massive decisions that will impact the next 10 years of this game get done. But now that that's out of the way, let's start cranking through that. Better icons. Yeah.
I don't think that sounds inaccurate.
But it's funny though, because this is a lot of the stuff that comes up on this show all the time, right? Of just like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if this was more informative? Wouldn't it be rad if you could see if you're playing somebody in Arena that is on there that's 0-2 versus somebody that is like absolutely destroying stuff? Like, there's
I don't know. Do you actually get to see your opponents? I thought in the preview that they showed.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you just get to see yours.
You just see yours. Yeah, I think your opponent's name is just still your opponent's name. Which the way that MMR and Arena basically works is like if you're 3-2, your opponent is 3-2, as far as I understand.
It's supposed to. I'm sure.
It's supposed to.
I'm sure there are safeguards in place in case it's a slow day to
Yeah.
just probably break certain rules to make the queue a little faster. But I don't know. I would personally like to see that shown. Obviously, I could see that. I'm sure the first person that's like 3-2 that goes up against like 4-2.
11-1.
No,
it's just a full
no. I'm
banana.
literally. I have a lot less faith in the random people on the internet. I think if they go up against someone who has one more win than them, they're gonna screen cap it and start tweeting to Ben Brode in all caps, asking
you wanna
how
know
is
what?
this
That's
balance?
Why that's why they designed the game, and I don't. That's a terrible idea. Nobody should ever implement that into Hearthstone because you're right. I can just see, you would be able to, encrust bread with the salt that would come off the Hearthstone.
Little bit, but nonetheless, yeah, this is just a nice touch. There'll be a Tavern Brawl icon. When you mouse over it, it will show you the rules of the current
Yay!
brawl. Yay! No, but don't get too excited, Jocelyn. It hasn't been confirmed whether it's the actual rules or just a retelling of what was already on the chalkboard. We only saw one example, and it looked to be an exact just regurgitation of what was on the chalkboard before we started playing.
Yeah, but it was also a very simple brawl because the one that they showed, the example they showed was Too Many Portals, and I can't remember the chalkboard version of Too Many Portals, but I don't remember it saying anything about class spells, and when they hovered over and you got the little blurb about the rules of the brawl, it did mention class spells. So
That's true.
I feel like it's going to be that little bit more information that we're looking
That's
for.
huge.
Yeah, so you'll know the rules of the brawl entirely before you go in.
That said, and I'm really just kind of playing devil's advocate here because honestly, I don't care that much. I don't think it's that big of a deal that they don't explicitly state everything that's happening in the brawl before we go in and play. But does this make you happy? Because you'll already be in the game when you can see this little piece of mouse over information.
But that's really what I think this solves is that first Tavern Brawl game. Right, where like it's frustrating to walk into a Tavern Brawl, think it's something else based on your interpretations of what's on the chalkboard, and then just totally eat it buffet style because you realize that you made that you screwed up and something isn't what you thought it was.
But if it's a constructed brawl, that can still absolutely happen in that first game because you didn't see that information. If there is different information on the mouse over than there was on the chalkboard before hitting play, you're still.
But even if it adjusts your play style in that first one,
Yeah,
because
and
you're
by
like,
some
okay,
okay.
this is something you'll just know it earlier, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if you can make that first game just a bit less frustrating, then I think that eliminates one of the only persistent problems that I know I have with Brawl because I'm a poor reader.
Well, and if they've put this mouse over into the game mode ID or like onto our usernames, I assume that they're probably going to put it somewhere else as well, like on the brawl button or something. Like there's got to be some other hover over spot.
Yep.
I would hope.
Yeah. So wait, why did Brode decide to do this as a weird like Periscope feed?
I don't know. I enjoyed it though. I would
Just
love
road reasons.
I would love to see more of this from Team 5.
Yeah. No, I mean, the more that they're already so great in terms of just giving, I think, the right amount of peek behind the curtain. That this is, I love how cash it is. Like I definitely love this way of revealing stuff.
Yeah, I dig it. Team 5, I feel, has always kind of had this image of being pretty darn accessible, and I think this continues with that trend and kind of speaks to the way that they talk to the community. So I'm all for it. Also, those two UI designers clearly were not prepared to be on camera. So more of that, please, Ben. More of that, please. And by the way, go back to episode 100 of The Angry Chicken if you haven't already, because Team 5 sent us a video, and some people clearly didn't know what they were recording, and it was quite awesome. And this
So you're
reminded me
saying
of that.
Brode's maybe a bit of a quick draw on the
the video,
iPhone camera.
Maybe a little bit. It hasn't yet got to that point where it's like, I'm here in the bathroom. Oh God, Ben, get out! Why are you in here? But
It's
Save
only a
that for
matter
the
of time.
Snapchat. I'm sure Ben Brode's Snapchat would just be dominant. It would be amazing.
Sweet. Anyway, so there'll also be an adventure icon, which uses the icon from the adventure. There's really no added functionality, but it's pretty. And so is the casual icon. Again, no added functionality, just looks nice. So if you ever forget, I don't know, I don't remember what mode am I in? I'll just check the bottom. Oh, I guess I'm in casual. Look at that. So, hey.
So what was the difference between, was it wild and standard? Because there were two different casual icons, right? One was kind of gold sun looking, and the other was kind of like wood sun looking.
I'm assuming the wood would be wild and the sun would be standard,
Cool.
but I'm not 100% sure. Oh, yes, actually it says right there. It's just super blurry. Wild. So the wooden one is
Oh.
wild, the golden one is standard. So there you go. Cool stuff.
There.
I like Hearthstone being shined up and tweaked even further. I'm also a UI nerd, so that's why it led the news.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, this is great.
Yeah.
Including, I'm actually just looking again. Oh my God, both of these UI guys are just so not ready to be on camera. Just looking like the older brothers of the younger sisters that are at a birthday with a bunch of kids that are 4 years younger than them. Like they're just kind of like trying to not make eye contact and pretending they're not super bored.
Yep. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. Go watch the video, guys, if you haven't. It's linked everywhere. Whatever your Hearthstone fan website is of choice, there's a link there, I'm sure. IGN got to sit down with both Mike Denay and Peter Whalen recently. They're both game designers on Hearthstone, and they talked about just the state of the game in general. And there was actually some pretty interesting points brought up. Obviously, there was the usual dodging of questions we would love the answer to. Like ladder improvements, for example.
Although they were dodging the questions, whereas previously they have said, no, we are not working on improving the ladder. Like, this is your ladder. So them saying, we can't answer that.
It was, but that's not what they said. They basically said, oh, it's pretty great. It would never say never. And it's like, whatever.
Still, that's better than a solid no. Before it was a no.
All right. Fair enough. They were really channeling the nothing is off the table in this interview, it seemed like. But there was some other interesting stuff that came up. They said that they were asked about what's next, what else they are working on. And Wayland said that they're actually working on a lot of new things, but at the moment there's a big focus on fireside gatherings. And they are focusing on, quote, ways for people to play socially with their friends and find other people to play Hearthstone with. And this came up multiple times in the interview, talking about how, as far as they're concerned, the most requested thing in Hearthstone is more social features.
Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, friends. Otherwise you end up like Justin and you get pulled into the Angry Chicken last minute because you didn't have plans.
Exactly. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
I was just going to say, I can absolutely see this as most requested feature because it is a constant thing that we get emailed about. We constantly see it on the TAC Reddit. People making posts saying, I need to do my watch and learn. Like, is anyone online playing right now? Or I'm looking for more people. Or where do I find tournaments? You know, just anything that involves the social aspect of Hearthstone because it's so hard to do it in game. But like everyone is posting everywhere with like, here's my battle tag. And, you know, like, it's part of their, you know, profiles on Twitter, just saying like, go ahead, add me. I need Hearthstone friends. So I can see that as being the most requested feature for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. You know, and I think there really is this kind of phantom limb that doesn't yet exist where it's not just a random person stepping up peer to peer and saying, hey, I want to play you right now, but rather like just this pool of like, oh, I want to play somebody around here, right? Like I now I want to engage with friendly combat as opposed to picking one of my friends that I'm now gonna like wait the 5 seconds. Like, oh, are they in the middle of a game? Am I gonna spectate first? Like maybe while instead of spectating, I'll get my deck ready. Like if there was just a queue into friends feature, that would be huge. That would
be cool.
I would love that.
Yeah.
It would be cool if you could have multiple queues because I know if I did like queue into friend game, and I have a pretty substantial list of friends who play Hearthstone, and I have so many friends, Jerry. You don't even know. I had to call my list. You may not be there anymore.
Thank you.
Hey Justin, should we just kick her out of the call? I mean, I have that power.
No. Although she has so many friends, she could probably just hop onto another Hearthstone podcast almost immediately.
Yeah,
she has
instantly.
queue into Hearthstone podcast.
Oh, jeez.
But what I was going to say is even with a substantial list of people who primarily play Hearthstone, I think the queue for that would be pretty long. So I wouldn't mind like queuing for that and queuing for play mode at the same time. And then whatever pops first, that would be fun for me.
Or even just a chat. You know, if you could have guild chat.
Oh, well, yeah.
where you just say like, hey, is somebody ready now? Or I'm looking to test out this, because that's the other thing is that all of a sudden, if you are talking to 8 people as opposed to 1 person, then you're more likely to say, hey, I'm testing out this new, Miracle Rogue deck. I'm curious to see how it plays against blank. Does anybody want to do that? Right? Like that is a offering that can pretty much be solved by fairly simple IRC chat, right? But it requires the one extra layer of like, no, I want to opt into a guild where I know that these other people are cool with it. And of course, it'd be really rad for us, because we would have a rad guild and it would be awesome. So like, just come on, do it for the people, Blizzard.
Yeah. So I'm all for that. I've been wanting chat rooms at the very base level forever, and I would love some type of clan or guild system on top of that. But just a chat channel with custom chat channels within it would be fantastic. Something like Heroes of the Storm has.
I think the difference between something like Heroes and something like Hearthstone is that they just didn't see like big community stuff really coming. It was a single player game versus Heroes, which is you need multiple players or can queue in with multiple players. So I think that, going into Heroes, they were just like, well, of course we need chat channels because it's a group game, and Hearthstone is so single player that they were just like,
Yeah, but I mean,
we're not going to need that.
That's kind of the story of Hearthstone as a whole. Right.
Yeah.
It was like from launch, it was, how is all of this missing? And the answer was always, we didn't know it was going to be this big. And we all went, you're dumb. But it's a
like,
Blizzard
we love
game.
your little thing. Please make it the gigantic thing that we want it to be.
You're dumb for not assuming I wouldn't let this consume my life.
Yeah.
Why did you underestimate my adoration? You are a failure.
I now hate your game.
Your game is so good, you're
I love
stupid.
you.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, that just says that's so much of the internet right
Yep,
there.
yep.
Like my love for you has now catalyzed into an angry 5,000 word Reddit post.
Yep, pretty much. So, anyway, in the interview, they went on to talk about just the state of the game and Old Gods and Standard. They said that they're very happy with the Old Gods meta. They believe it is their best format. They said they're seeing more deck types than they ever have, and that the win rates for the decks are closer together than they have ever seen. So, high praise by Blizzard for Old Gods' impact on the game.
I mean,
cool to see what Blizzard confirming what a lot of the community has kind of felt and a lot of the players have been articulating over the last month or so is that there's a lot of diversity, but you never feel like there's just one deck that blows you out all of the time.
yeah, I mean, because that's not controversial, right? That's not, that's something that is definitely it feels true to me that like, all of a sudden Shaman is this world beater class because people come up with some rad deck types, and the next thing you know, it's like, meh, all right. I mean, it's cool, but look at this Miracle Rogue.
Yeah, exactly. And Miracle
and actually,
Rogue
Warrior's pretty good.
Yeah. And Miracle Rogue even was brought up alongside, I believe, Freeze Mage in terms of, hey, uninteractive decks are still around. That seemed to be something you guys were combating rather strongly in the past, but they said that at the moment they're happy with Miracle Rogue because, and I agree with them, they said that, it's way more interactive than it used to be, which I think is true.
Yeah, part of that I think is probably losing those big heals. It's just like they have to be a little bit more proactive in order to just not die by turn 4. So I think Miracle Rogue is in a pretty good place right now. And
yeah,
I think it's also a bigger impact previously in Hearthstone. If you had 1 or 2 non-interactive decks that were very powerful, like that might have been 2 out of 3 competitive decks. Now, 2 non-interactive decks in Miracle Rogue and Freeze Mage is part of a meta that has 15 to 20 very competitive decks. So it's not as big of an impact. It's not like every single game you're queuing into, you're in a non-interactive Hearthstone match.
Well, and that's, something that I used to focus on a lot with like Go games was in terms of play design, there is that fine line where like impending doom is the most fun you can have until it's not fun at all. Right. And that's really where the art comes in, is like, you need to have these decks where you know you will be smote if you F around, right? Because now it's really, really fun because you have a clarity of purpose. You see your deck differently than you would otherwise if you were playing your own strategy. And now it's really, you feel like you escaped, you blew up the Death Star and got out in time if you can do it. But if the Death Star always just, like blows up your ship, then it's like, well, then none of this is fun, and I hate all of it. So I think they are in a good place because now, I mean, a Freeze Mage, it never feels like I'm totally screwed. Miracle Rogue never feels like I'm totally screwed. But if I don't, if it doesn't come out my way, then it just means that I screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I agree. They were talking about balance. Waylon said that they like to revisit card balance at the start of the year when everything changes. But he's not sure that they're going to be as aggressive as they were at the start of Old Gods, I'm assuming in reference to the changes to the basic and classic cards.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious to see if we'll see changes to Old Gods, whatever the next adventure and whatever the next expansion is. I wonder if we'll see changes of those cards at the beginning of next year, since they'll still be in Standard.
I think so. I don't see why not. They just said like they don't have rules, so that doesn't mean they're saying that we won't touch any of the stuff that was released in the last year. And
Yeah.
I think it's good for them to revisit card balance, especially if it's a time in the year when you know that it's coming. Like, okay, every time we have a rollover to a new year of the whatever in Hearthstone, we're gonna get some balance there too. I think it's a good way to tell the community, like, don't worry, all these things that you're worried about in terms of like cards and whatever the next like Dr. Boom or BGH is going to be, this is the time we're going to look at it. So just chill.
Would you guys have any early balance candidates? Would you put any please think about fixing this early in the game?
No.
I feel like this is the most balanced expansion that we've had so far in Hearthstone. There isn't that kind of standout like, oh my god, this thing is ridiculously OP. It's an auto include in all your decks. Everything is just really diverse right now, and I can't think of one off the top of my head that I'm just like, that card is just needs to be nerfed into the ground.
I mean, the only one that I feel like it just frustrates me to the point that I'm angry and not in the like, oh, what a fun challenge is Twin Emperor.
Okay.
But even then you got to play a Cthulhu deck. So it's like, all right, you're already taking these risks. You are already like risking that the card might just be a dead fish in your hand, at the point that you really, really need it. And, when it pops, it's great. But otherwise, there are a lot of things that you need to have go right.
Mm-hmm. And I think Twin Emperor was the first one that came to mind. Councilman was another, but even then you have to really pair Councilman. Like you have to have a certain board state in order to play it effectively because it's always going to be the target of big removal. And it doesn't have an obscene amount of health. There's still usually a way, it might be a combination of a minion and a spell or something, but it's usually pretty removable unless, like you have to, like I said, have a specific board state where you have Councilman is not your only threat, or you have it behind a taunt, or, like there's different things that you have to do to set up your board to get a good Councilman off. So I don't necessarily think that deserves a nerf. It's basically a combo piece. And if you don't have a combo, a 1/5 sucks.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of Doomhammer, but Doomhammer, I feel like is that shaman is I mean, I think that what they've made very, very clear is that they want there to be class specific personality, and that's such a huge part of shaman that if right now we are in a very, very good place for shaman, but if at some point we are not necessarily in as strong of a place, Doomhammer is going to be one of those tools that they just need to stay relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm biased. I really like Doomhammer and don't want to see it changed.
I think it's fine. I mean, it's.
I would. If anything, I'd be fine with all classic and basic cards being rotated out, but that's not going to happen. So.
Yeah.
You want to know what? But that's. So there are a few people that are very casual players, but have at times gotten really into it. And the argument against that is that like already it's taken me a couple tries around the barn to like get them back into the game post Old Gods because it seems like such a big shakeup, and they're like, oh well, I got to buy all these cards. It's like no, you can just use Like the fact that you already have the basis of stuff, I think is so necessary for what, for many people. And the game will always be very healthy when there's a gigantic amount of just, casual players who want to get to 20 and get their card back.
Oh, I agree, and we have mentioned that on the show before. I just would really like to see Hearthstone with that large of a shakeup.
Yeah.
So, give me a third format if you have to. I don't care. I just really want to see that.
More formats.
Anyways, I don't want to get back into that. We've had this discussion many times on the show.
Bazillion times, yeah.
So, they also talked quite a bit about Arena. They brought up Priest, the IGM Cam Shea, who was the interviewer, was bringing up multiple kind of weaker classes, kind of commended them on, hey, you've done actually pretty good work with Warrior, all things considered, considering where Warrior used to be in Arena, and then brought up, hey, Priest. Priest is not doing well in Arena. And they started talking about just Priest design in general, which I thought was fascinating. They said that they're looking for, quote, build-around hooks for the Priest, since they don't have a tribe like other classes do. They don't really have a cohesive theme that you can build around, which many of the other classes in Hearthstone have. They also said that a good 2-drop constantly comes up, and it is something that is on the table right now that they are discussing. So they're hoping that if they can develop some good build-around cards for priests, that they can also build commons that work in whatever that theme may be to help them in Arena. And I was surprised we got that answer.
Yeah, they were really upfront with a lot of the Arena stuff here, and I look forward to them giving Priest a little bit more of a cohesive feel and a hook, because they have healing, but healing is never really, it doesn't feel as powerful, not necessarily as a balancer or an effect or anything, but just as, it's not as in your face as a hunter with beasts or a shaman with totems. Like, it doesn't define the class as much as it probably should. So I would love to see them do something that makes Priest feel more priesty.
Yeah, I think part of what we've seen is just healing your minions is never really all that effective, because clearing a minion, there's oftentimes either a death to spare in terms of how much the health that they need to get taken out in, and you healing yourself for 2 is not nearly as ultimately effective as, let's say, clearing another minion off the board or doing something like that. So I think that they're in a very interesting place with Priest, but I don't think it's anything that just having a couple really key cards couldn't fix. Something that just gave that healing power a little extra, a little extra oomph.
Yeah. Sorry if I said this name wrong, but Japodaka in the chat room is saying healing is never as good as armor because healing has a cap, which is also a very good point. You can't heal above your initial starting health of 30, but you can armor up to 150 if you want to, and you can
debatable.
somehow get... Huh?
That is highly debatable. You can't armor your minions.
Oh, no, you can't armor your minions. No, I'm talking about just your face.
Yeah,
like, I can be
yeah.
a warrior with 100 armor, and
Yeah.
I can never be over 30 as a priest. I can
Yeah.
heal my face as many times as I want to, but if I'm at 30, I'm not going up any further.
I would like it if you were healing yourself and Anduin just kind of kept getting like more buff and like ripped, and like, he's just like bursting out of his sleeves, and he was in like, when he heals himself up to 45, he's just like over muscle, like Muscle Beach, like Venice Beach kind of, super vascular jacked.
His robes just start splitting.
Oh yeah, and then he just starts like doing like those like poses, like just
The beach is that away.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We can all dream.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that armor, as it pertains to warriors, because it's not specific to warriors, does seem just objectively better than the healing hero power for priest, in that what warriors can do with armor as a resource is pretty absurd compared to what priests can do with healing as a resource. Yes, you have things like Hakanai Soul Priest and similar effects where you can turn your healing into damage, but it certainly seems like you have to bend over backwards significantly more than you do compared to a card like Shield Slam.
Yeah, Shield Slam is the first thing that comes to mind, right? Because you can just be sitting there and passively hitting your hero power, and then all of a sudden, it's not really a combo because your hero power is always available and you're doing that as part of your playstyle anyway, then to have such a cheap card just be like, oh, hey, you're worth 25 damage now. Like,
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, objectively better than a lot of the healing.
Yep.
Yeah, and ultimately the name of the game is stay alive faster or stay alive longer than your opponent, right? And in a game that is designed that eventually fatigues you to death, being able to go over 30 is an inherent advantage, and more of an inherent advantage than healing a minion that might have, if he goes from 2 health to 4 health at max, like then that's not really all that much of a deal in the ultimate way that you win a game, which is get your opponent down to 0.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, if you want to hear more about this, we talked about the arena leaderboard that was happening and currently still happening over in China. We talked about it last week on episode 155. This was brought up in the interview, and they said that they do not have any plans to do anything like that leaderboard over here at the moment. That they're going to just kind of look at it and see how it shakes out over there. And also the way that these two designers talked about it made it sound like Blizzard here in the States had nothing to do with this. It almost sounds like it was conceived and implemented all over in Blizzard China's studios.
It is cool that they're trying stuff out in different markets. Like China is a huge market, so if it is well received over in China, I don't know why they wouldn't roll it out over here. So just, knowing that this isn't kind of going to be in a patch on next Tuesday is good to know. But I like that they're open to it and just want to see how it's received.
Yeah. So
Because I think everyone saw it and went, yes, please.
yes.
Yeah. No, I would be very much for them unleashing features in the test market of my house.
Yes, please try some things.
Yeah, just let me know. Holler at me.
Yep, would be fun. Would be very fun. But anyway, there's more to that interview. We just grabbed some of the highlights that interested us the most. Head on over to IGN.com for the full interview and take a peek. Now let's talk a little bit of esports because the Europe Spring Championship happened this past weekend. If you are one of those types that thinks that reporting on results from a competition is a spoilers. Tice is now the first 2-time regional champion, guys, and he's also locked in his BlizzCon seat for the 2nd year running. So history-setting Tice. I like that. I can get used to saying that.
I like it that Tice is just being so rewarded because he works so hard. Like, there have been so many casters and other pro players that have said, like, Tice is literally the hardest working person I know in Hearthstone. And it's nice to see that being rewarded, and it's nice to see him being very consistent in his tournament finishes.
Yeah.
Well, I think you guys have mentioned in previous episodes that it's really great to see new names pop up on these tournaments. And I think that on the inverse, if you are going to see names that pop up regularly, that it is better for the competitive scene when it is somebody that has a tremendous reputation for work ethic, and it's not just like, oh, they cracked one code and they just got the good draw and that's why they won. It's like, oh no, this is somebody who puts in a ton of time and effort into it, and that is the bar that you want to clear, because in terms of competition, that's creates for a better story.
Yep. Yeah, he's he's the first 2-time regional champion. Period. First person to do it twice. Consistency is the name of the game. So Tice is extremely consistent. He has been struggling as of late as well, which made the win all the more better. And not to mention that, I don't know if anyone watched the finals between him and what was his name? Inner, who was a kind of a underdog, a relatively unknown player from Russia. It was a very close finals. It went to all 7 games. So again, a great finals. I had the very similar reaction going into the finals at DreamHack. Like, oh man, I'd love to see Chalky win because always second place. But Terrence is this upcoming player has just performed wonderfully. I'd be really happy to see either of these players win. And it was kind of the same case here. I'm a huge Tice fan, but I was not familiar with Inner, and it was awesome seeing some new blood up on stage. Mm-hmm. So also, yeah, hats off to Inner. Even little BM with his emotes, but hey, that's always fun. It's fine.
Hey, keep it on the field. Keep it on the field. It's all good.
It was on the field. He did keep it on the field.
I know, it's good.
So.
I like it. Get a little salty.
Yeah. And also I find this hilarious that apparently as of this Friday, Russia will be officially recognizing esports in their National Register of Sports.
Nice.
A week, less than a week following when Inter damn near took the European Championship for spring. So I just think that's super cool. So
Yeah. Big ups to Mother Russia.
yeah. So I really enjoyed the finals. I highly recommend folks go and watch them if you haven't. Even if you know the way it ended up, it was a good finals. The final game was a Miracle Rogue mirror match. Ooh. Oh, Tice, you aggressive rogue. Mm-hmm. It was fun to watch. And I also highly recommend a piece on Gosu Gamers that broke down what they said was the 5 coolest tech choices of the EU Spring Championship, because while most of these people did not do very well, I just think it's awesome that anyone in the top 8 in Europe brought some of these decks. Like Georgic, for example, he brought an Anyfin Paladin, which sounds insane until I remind you that Lovely Chook won the China versus Europe, the third one. There's been 3 of these now, and a Ferrari, because it's the first time that China won with a very similar Anyfin Paladin deck. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. Now, didn't
Yeah, when China wins, they get a Ferrari.
yeah. So it's put on in China, and if China ends up winning, there's always a Ferrari up for grabs. They've never won before up until the most recent one.
Wait, is that just like customary? Like, is that just something like culturally that I was not like? It's like where like in Japan, if you slurp your soup, it's like a compliment to the chef or
It's
something.
customary of this one very specific Hearthstone tournament. That's
Yeah.
only happened 3 times.
That would be cool, though. Anytime you do something good in China, they're just like, have a Ferrari.
Exactly.
Because it's
No,
our custom.
I'd be excited if it came from like an ancient, like some old dynasty. It's like, oh, well, any competition winner gets the fastest Italian transportation. Like back in in ancient lore, it's like, please have this Italian donkey. But now it's a Ferrari.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. It doesn't stop there with Georgiak. He had Tinkmaster. Tinkmaster in his
We
control
haven't seen
warrior.
Tinkmaster since the nerf, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. He showed up briefly, but the fact that he was running him in his control warrior was just super weird. And again, it didn't seem to pay off. Georgiak was out in the first round, but oh man, style points.
Well, weren't
all
you
over
guys
the place.
saying last week that you could make the argument in a Miracle Rogue popular meta, especially a tournament meta, that maybe Tinkmaster has a place as a tech card against Auctioneer?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
and
yes,
it's
we
not
did,
only
and that's absolutely why it's in here. There's a lot of stealth issues right now happening, and Hunter is so incredibly popular. Stranglethorn Tiger, not a bad thing to use it on. Savannah High Main, which pretty much every hunter is running, great target for it. And obviously the stealth auctioneers, which you just mentioned.
Yeah, and it's not only the stealth minions or the Miracle Rogue, but also N'Zoth is really kind of become more popular. And N'Zoth, usually you only see a Karin and a Sylvanas and possibly a Chilmaw. And any of those 3 targets, if you turn them into even a 5/5, it's way better, because then they don't have that Death Rattle minion to be brought back with N'Zoth later on. So where N'Zoth is so powerful and so popular, using Tinkmaster to remove that Death Rattle, because it doesn't actually kill the minion, is so much more powerful. So Tinkmaster is coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, still a gamble.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's still a gamble.
Still like you are trying to put out a forest fire with a super soaker, but like every once in a while it might work.
Yes, I think to say that it's the age of Tinkmaster, it's the second coming is way overselling it. But it's
But
But
definitely a tech card.
use.
Yeah.
That's something else that's been so fun, is just seeing all these cards that were just kind of like on the junk heap of life now spring back animated.
yeah, absolutely. And Justin, you were at the top saying, Cthulhu cards, man, Twin Emperor, I think it's a little strong. Apparently, Wonder is your boy then, because Wonder brought 3 Cthulhu decks. 3 of them.
Yeah, that might be putting a little too much faith in old K-Thune there. I mean, listen, he did, he went down 2-4.
In the first round.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's like, I feel like we're at a point now where there's going to be some new expansion or some new adventure where we get some mega awesome Cthulhu deck. I just don't know if we're there with the pieces that we have now.
Which is funny because everyone wanted it nerfed when Old Gods first came out. They were just like, Cthulhu's the worst. Get rid of it. It's terrible. Nerf, nerf, nerf.
And that's what I was saying about Yogg-Saron.
And now, I love and hate
it. I love it. I'm glad it exists.
I'm playing this Tempo Mage now, and I had not one, but 2 Pyroblasts in my hand, and my opponent down to 9. And I'm like, gotta play the Yogg. Like, I just gotta scratch that lottery ticket just to see what happened. And I wound up healing him back up to 18, but luckily I had the 2 Pyroblasts.
Yeah. I think if they add more Cthulhu cards, which I find pretty unlikely because I don't think they're going to stick with the Old Gods theme for everything this year. I'm saying unlikely, not going to happen. But I think Wonder should be the next Cthulhu themed character. It should be based on Wonder because clearly he is an acolyte of Cthulhu.
Yeah, people are saying like, a Cthulhu Druid and Warrior are both pretty good. Yeah, no, listen, it's a good card. It's just not a killer card, which is great because I think if it was a killer card, it would be far more annoying. Like just because everybody has it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's good. I like Cthulhu. I still enjoy cracking out my Cthulhu decks every once in a while. And I know we talked about in the preview stage as cards were being revealed for Old Gods that we were worried that Cthulhu decks were going to be pretty boring to pilot. But I think they're fun. I really enjoy them. I have a good time with Cthulhu decks. So I'm glad they're a thing. I think they're strong enough. It's okay, in my opinion, that they are not top tier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think it's really, and you guys have talked about this a million times, so we don't have to spend a ton of time on it, but it's just a matter of playing vanilla minions and saying like, hey, look at me. I'm just playing these on curve because I need to buff that Cthulhu. And as long as you're okay with that, which I think, it's the price of playing the game because you get that awesome card at the end. That's fine.
It's okay with me, man. I got a panda that does 2 damage when he comes out, and then once my Cthulhu is up to 10, I have all these cards that do cool things. Like if I'm playing Priest, it heals me a bunch. If I'm playing Warrior, it gives me way more armor. It makes the guy across from me go, oh, come on, really? I don't know. I think that's... I find that kind of stuff. I like assembling my Voltron. I'll just put it that. I know Voltron's an actual card in Hearthstone that I could assemble, but it's a bad card. So I like assembling my playable Voltron that's covered in eyeballs.
I know. And then you get to play your Twin Emperor. They just pop out giving double middle fingers to your opponent.
Every once in a while, Brand's on board, and I get 3 sets of middle fingers.
And that's the thing. Is it's funny you mention that because that's what I feel like if there is some mechanic, and maybe it is even class dependent, in a way that you can combo with Brand more effectively on a Cthulhu deck or something, I feel like that takes a lot of that stuff to the next level. Because even just hitting the right combo on that is incredibly powerful.
Oh, it is. And before you type your email or send your tweet, that would actually be 4 sets of middle fingers, not 3. I was wrong.
Very Zaphod Beetlebrox.
Oh, wait, no, it would be 3.
No, it's 3.
It would be 3. It would be 3.
Because you get
Never
the
mind.
one original and his battle cry is to summon another. So you summon another, then you summon another.
Never mind. I was right the first time, wrong the second. Wrong the second. Cool. For some reason, my brain hung up on that. It's like, wait, does that math shake out? No. Anyways, if you're curious about some of the deck statistics of the players that the top 8 players that played in this championship for Europe, Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior were brought by every single player that participated. So all 8 players brought Shaman, Warlock, and Warrior. And you can again, Ghosty Gamers was on point with their coverage of this tournament. If you want to see this kind of broken down into what archetypes of Shaman, Warlock, Warrior, and every other class that was brought except Priest, because no one brought Priest, not a single player brought Priest. Check out Gosu Gamers because they have that up as well under the decklist spotlight for the European Spring Championship.
Man, and only one brought Druid. But how the mighty have fallen, right? When you take out that combo, and it's like, you want to know what? you guys have been balling out so hard for so long, you're just going to take a spot on the bench for a season.
I'm so okay with it. I can't
I think
describe
it was
in words.
necessary. I think the less that you could just be throwing up your hands and quitting out of a game because you just see the combo coming. We need a year to forget that.
Yep, I'm in on that. So, anyways, let's move on and talk about something that I want to inform everyone filed deeply under rumor, and it's probably nothing. But the Hearthstone Brazil Facebook page posted what we're assuming is a just for fun image of the Old Gods travel agency, which included a photo of cheesy Azeroth brochures showing the following destinations of Icecrown Citadel, the Dark Portal, and the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. So, of course, guys, instead of everyone just hitting like on Facebook and going upon their merry way, we must have a discussion about whether or not these locations are going to be in the next adventure or expansion or who knows.
I think there's a good argument for next adventure. And
But
don't
which one?
really. What do you mean, which one?
Which one?
All three of them.
It's going to be all three?
Yeah, I think it's going to be like the Old Gods travel agency. And like week 1, you'll go to Icecrown Citadel. Week 2, you'll go to Dark Portal, which is kind of weird. But and week 3, you'll go to Vale of Eternal Blossoms. And you'll fight through those wings.
Huh.
So, all right. The argument for that would be that you guys made the point when Old Gods first came out that they were very consistent to kind of be in what is a spooky, obviously, oh man, I'm forgetting the author that had Cthulhu.
Oh, Cthulhu. Oh, my gosh.
H.P. Lovecraft.
Lovecraft. A very Lovecraftian inspired horror theme thing that is very like Disney, not scary Halloween kind of theme. So if they were going to do, and this would be the most interesting thing, and would speak to possibly the idea that maybe we would see more Cthulhu cards in a Old Gods adjacent kind of adventure, is that a travel agency, a theme thing does continue that kind of play school rounded edges version of a horror theme. But this would definitely be the first time that they had done an adventure that was tied to a big deck release, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Up until now, the adventures have been very much in and of themselves. They haven't, had much to do with the expansions on either side of them. And that kind of gets into a bit of a bigger conversation about how we are currently in the year of the Kraken. Is this just basically the year of the Old Gods? Are we going to get, we've got our Old Gods expansion. If we get an Old Gods travel agency adventure, is our final expansion at the end of the year going to stick to this Old Gods theme? And are we going to get, spell, death rattle, Cthulhu type cards all through the year?
I would be very surprised. Because what do we have to go off of? All we have to go off of is what has happened so far, which is not that case. That's never happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe a small part of me would be disappointed because I'd like to see what other insane things they come up with.
I guess that would be my question to you guys, is just, does that idea excite you? Are you excited enough based on the stuff that Old Gods has created that you would be interested to see, okay, yeah, now double down on this path and take us in a few different, more interesting directions with cards that build on these mechanics? Or do you just take, other, right? The field. We can just do anything else.
I'm going to cut right down the middle and say that I'm totally cool seeing more cards added that synergize with the Old Gods or other Old Gods cards, but I would like the overall theme to be something fresh.
I like the double down approach. I think it would be really cool to have a whole entire year, 2 expansions, 1 adventure with a common theme. I think that would be awesome. And I've really liked what we've seen out of Old Gods so far. So giving me more content with Old Gods, more, along that same theme, Cthulhu buffing, all the rest of it, just that whole thing. Because, it's a year and it's going to rotate out. So I wouldn't really mind having just the years kind of be in and of themselves. And, you have a cool combination of Old Gods and then whatever we get in, cross your fingers, Year of the Unicorn. Then, that combination. And then you get Year of the Unicorn with Year of the, I don't even know what the next thing is. Year of
Titans. They're
Oh,
gonna be
Titans, sure.
It's gotta be Titans.
You know?
Because they already talked about how they were trying to work the Titans into old gods, and they just couldn't. They couldn't fit it all. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Titans somewhere soon.
Yeah, but like it would be really cool to have those different pairings in standard where, you've got a whole big chunk, and then when that rotates out, you get a whole big new combination. Like I like that idea. I like the doubling down.
Yeah, I would be very curious to see where they went with it, because I think it would have to substantially alter the meta for it, or substantially alter fundamental elements of old gods for it to be worth it. The only thing that I would say kind of weighs against it is how rad League of Explorers was, where League of Explorers just came out of nowhere and totally introduced new ideas and really was needed to throw the meta into a much more interesting place. And I would now be very excited to see, like, no, let's go totally off the reservation and just do something that now takes this in a far more complicated way and creates even more deck types and even more ways that you can win. I think that is really my only argument against it, would just be that they did so well with Explorers.
And it's a good argument. So 2-1 motion carries. We win. Cool.
Yeah, you now have your marching orders, Team 5.
No. Yeah, well, so we'll see, right? I'm not going to be disappointed by either. I'm sure whatever they decide to do is going to be supremely cool. But all I kept thinking of was League of Explorers and how damn cool it was, and how none of us called it because it was literally based on nothing that had really existed before. I mean, yes, the locations existed in World of Warcraft, but that was it.
Although, save it being the adventure, I would love it if it were just 3 brawls and we just knew that there were 3 brawls coming up and it explored elements of old gods, and that was, something that, I personally love the idea of just hyping brawls and just not having them drop randomly, of just saying like, oh, look, here's a set of things. And now it is a month adventure that you get to play these brawls. And now they mean just a little bit more than kind of what they do now.
That'd be cool. I'd be down for that. Be surprised if they did that, but I still think it's cool. So
Yeah.
anyways, before we take a crazy game story and then move into emails, let's thank the patrons over at patreon.com/TAC for supporting our fine podcast here. You guys are awesome. We're doing so many extra episodes a month because of you, and we can't thank you enough. On this episode, we wanted to thank Diego A., Kelly S., Alan, Ryan F., Kumar L., Bob C., Toe Tesla, who wins the name game this week, and Greg M. Thank you guys for your support of the show. We really appreciate it. Now, let's see just how crazy your story is, Ryan.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
If you have a story you think is crazy or an email you'd like to send, you can send it to tacpodcast@gmail.com or post it on our subreddit at tacpodcast.reddit.com. Ryan, a.k.a. Netboy, writes in and says, well met, Raging Roosters. With the last day of the season upon me this past month and a hunter quest to complete, I queued up with my slightly modified mid-range hunter deck, queuing into what at first I believed was a Divine Shield aggro paladin. He quickly begins playing a slew of dragons, and after trading as best I can, and an unfortunate forbidden healing turn, I'm down 8-12. Down 8-12. So what, he's at 8?
He has 8 health and his opponent has 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha. Running out of options, I play Fossilized Devilsaur with no board, forfeiting Taunt, which is quickly Aldored to 1 attack. I top deck Highmane and quickly Houndmaster her as a last gasp effort. Man, the fact that you're playing Fossilized Devilsaur is a crazy game story enough. I'm obviously on the ropes with only 2 health and a 7 health Highmane with Taunt, so of course he plays N'Zoth, bringing back Chillmaw and Infested Tauren. I would like to remind the listening audience that he's playing against a Paladin at the moment, so the phrase, of course he plays N'Zoth, bringing back Chillmaw and Infested Tauren, is nuts. My spirits sink. I consider conceding. He attacks with everything he's got to leave me with no taunts, 2 health, and that stupid, tauntless, 1-attack Devilsaur. He shouts, incredible, and well played, with 6 health, N'Zoth, and 2 taunts. With a board including my 1-attack Fossilized Devilsaur left, I top deck Quick Shot with an empty hand. After going face to bring him to 3 health and praying to RN Jesus, the quick shot draws deadly shot. With another silent prayer to the RNG gods, the shot lands on Chilma, destroying him, and in the death rattle aftermath, my opponent's 2-3 infested Tauren, leaving him unprotected with 3 health, and my hunter with that lonely, weakened, now 1-3 fossilized Devilsaur. I give him a well played, and finish him off with exact lethal from the angriest Devilsaur and a steady shot to the face. Never concede. Wow, Ryan, you earned your crazy game story slot this week.
That is a hell of a story, and besides him violating the laws of the Bonjour click, where you only ever say hello, yeah, I think he's a great player and a credit to all of Hearthstone.
Yes. Good find, Jocelyn.
Thank you.
This is a spectacular story.
There's so many crazy game stories. It's
How
just
many do you
insane.
guys get like per week of crazy game stories?
Between tweets and emails and the Reddit, probably somewhere in and around. It's kind of gone down a little bit lately, but at least 30. But between 30 and 50.
30 per week?
Yeah.
Yep.
What?
That's not
It is by
inaccurate.
far our most prolific
Wait.
emails.
And you say tweet, like people will just go 9 tweets into a story about what just happened to them?
No. Most people, every now and then that happens. Most people are just kind of like, do I have a crazy story for you? And they give us like 5 words and a screenshot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those ones
Interesting.
are obviously hard to do, but the Reddit and the email ones, we read through them. Joss usually picks out what she thinks is the best one for the week and includes it. People love their crazy game stories, man.
Yeah, because I always wondered as a listener whether or not you guys just get one, because they're always good. Because this segment would suck if it was just like, anyway, so like a normal thing that happens. But they're so good. It makes sense that you guys get so many of them.
Like he was on 8 health and I drew Ragnaros and I played Ragnaros and Ragnaros went face and I won the game.
I pyroblasted my own face with Yogg. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we have been getting a lot of crazy game stories.
Yes.
Yeah. Although those can be amazing.
Some of them can be
because-
amazing, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I find this segment very interesting because I have heard from many listeners many times that they're like, I just turned the show off after crazy game stories. And it's like, normally in my head, I'd be like, well, I guess it's not that popular of a segment. But I have over 30 of you a week proving me otherwise. So, hey, who
Yep.
knows? Who knows? Also, those of you who are turning it off, you're missing out on some damn good stories, is all I have to say. So, before we take a few emails and wrap this thing up, I wanted to thank Squarespace.com one more time for sponsoring this episode, for giving us the code TAC to give to you fine listeners so that you can get 10% off your first order over at Squarespace.com after you're finished building yourself an awesome website with some great templates and some easy-to-use tools. Check them out. Justin, do you have something to say about Squarespace?
I was looking for Squarespace. You know, I ever tell you that one time I was looking for Squarespace. I was hanging out with a couple of father and a son fish in Australia. We had this whole other adventure where the father was looking for the son. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. But now I realize I'm very forgetful hanging out with these other 2 fish that I realized that Squarespace. I had been separated from Squarespace back when I was a child, and now a whole new adventure ensued, wherein I, along with the father and son fish, had to go out and find Squarespace. It was a real crazy experience.
Wow. Did you use the code TAC at checkout at least to get 10% off of your experience?
I don't know. We'll find out Friday when I see the movie.
Well, thank you, Justin Ellen DeGeneres Young, for that lovely story.
I'm just trying to keep it moving.
I hope
Trying
you
to keep it
can.
moving for Dills.
I hope your friends can find you, and before the credits roll. So anyway, let's take an email or two.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello?
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh,
Hello, brother.
You can send your emails to the same place, tacpodcast@gmail.com. Our first one today comes to us from Grinning Sheeps, which I feel like is some sister show to the Angry Chicken we're not aware of. But
I didn't even think of that.
nonetheless, Grinning
Yeah,
Sheeps.
that's the New Zealand version of this show. Your New Zealand franchise, the Grinning Sheeps.
That's fun. I would say it's the Happy Hobbits, but okay. Anyway, Grinning Sheeps writes, I don't have any crazy intro or film noir style writing. Just a simple question. Oh, okay. Why do decks that work at competitions not work on ladder and vice versa? I understand it's a different meta, but if aggro decks on ladder kill other decks, why don't people bring them to competitions? And if the control style decks work in competition, why aren't they played on the ladder? For us noobs, you know. That's not true.
What's not true?
That's not true. There's plenty of tournament decks that work just fine on ladder, and there's plenty of ladder decks that technically work fine on tournaments.
Well, I think what they're talking about here is basically like you need to almost like take tournament decks with a grain of salt when you're going into ladder. Like tournament decks have a lot of tech cards because they understand consistently what they're probably going to be facing when they head into a tournament, especially if you're looking at a tournament as small as the EU Championships that we just saw this last weekend. Decks brought to that tournament may not work as well on ladder because they have things like Tinkmaster. You don't want Tinkmaster on ladder. Like, bad news bears, guys, don't do it. But in a very small tournament where you know the majority of people are going to bring things like N'Zoth decks and Miracle Rogue decks, and Tinkmaster is a good tech choice against those two, you might want to include it. So the core of a lot of the decks played at tournaments can do well on ladder, but you need to take a look at, you know, what exactly you're doing when you're going into ladder. The ladder is also a lot more aggressive because people are trying to get through it quicker. So some of those control decks that require basically being played against other control decks and living until you can just be like giant bomb turn over and over and over, that doesn't necessarily work on ladder. So you have to kind of keep those two things in mind when you're looking at ladder competition versus tournament competition.
You put that very well. That's what I was going to say. I think what you should look at are the tech choices, which we talked a little bit about today with like George X's incredibly bizarre inclusion of Tinkmaster, for example.
Mm-hmm. And also think of it as a difference between offense and defense. When you are on the ladder, you are pretty much trying to execute your way of killing anybody. And the decisions that you make based on the meta is figuring out, okay, well, what are they going to do to try and stop me, or how do I stop their way of killing me? It has to be very, very durable because you have no idea what you are going to see game in, game out. You have more of an idea what you're going to see in a ladder, and so therefore defense becomes more of a realistic option. You can actually think about it in a way that you can never do it on ladder.
Yeah, all said. Yeah, so I mean, it's not entirely untrue, but I wouldn't say it's a true statement either. It's not that black and white. Yeah, especially when you get into tournaments like what we just watched over the weekend at the EU Spring Championship. That was a best of 7. The players had to bring quite a few decks. So yes, there were absolutely going to be decks in there that are targeted and pruned specifically, you know, for some kind of deck that they're fearful of going up against. Less so in Conquest. You'll see more of that in Last Hero Standing because they kind of have a defender's advantage in that way. Yeah, no, it's. I think it comes down more to the tech cards. Like at the moment, I took Crazed Alchemist out of my Zulak deck because I'm seeing way less N'Zoth Paladin at the moment. When I was seeing a lot of N'Zoth Paladin, I was running my Crazed Alchemist to deal with those Doomsayers. But that's a tech choice you're going to see in a lot of tournament decks because they're expecting that they're going to run into a N'Zoth Paladin or two. So. But that doesn't mean Zulak doesn't work. It works in both places. It just a tournament Zulak probably looks a little different than a ladder Zulak.
This email is more in line of when you guys just say on the show like talking about a big tournament, like that'll be great, but it won't work on ladder, or it will need to be changed for ladder. Like that's what you guys are getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, Chalky's Zulak worked really well for me. Up until probably this most recent season, because after DreamHack, everyone was playing N'Zoth Paladin. And it's like, yeah, putting in an Alchemist into your Zulak it works. It gets work done. And as the meta kind of shifts and develops, things change. You need to kind of keep an eye on that, and that's how you know how to tweak your decks. So, anyway, Justin, you can read the notes. So why don't you take the next email?
Oh, don't mind if I do, Garrett. Zach writes, "Good day, my feathered friends. Do you think for Shaman, Blizzard could make cards that require you to spend overload crystals to cast? Thought it might be a cool way to make something even more unique for Shaman. Keep up the great work. So I guess what he's saying is if you already have overload crystals, have cards that specifically could only be played
Yes.
based on locked overload cards.
Yes. So basically, like if you haven't overloaded your mana crystals at all and you have something that costs like 2 overloaded crystals, you couldn't play that creature. You would have to overload your crystals and then play that creature to kind of unlock, like make use of those locked crystals without actually, because right now we have the unlock your mana crystals mechanic. So this would kind of be an extension of that. You're not necessarily unlocking it. It's a very specific creature that you would play, but you could still use those crystals. So, I mean, the flip side, the downside of that is that, you know, if you get a couple of those in your opening hand and you don't have a way to lock your crystals, then they're just dead cards. So it could be kind of cool. I think it's an interesting, because we're always talking about how overload, it's just kind of a crappy feeling mechanic.
It is. It is, and that's was my gut reaction. I actually distinctly remember when this email came in, because it was one of those days when I just happened to be checking the Angry Chicken inbox at the right time on my phone. This popped up, and I'm like, that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And then 5 seconds later, I go, that would be the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah.
If you weren't overloaded. So yeah, I think this is a supremely cool idea, one I haven't seen before mentioned. Mm-hmm. I feel like if you put this on a card, you're just not going to see it played. It's too big of a risk to take.
And the argument against it is that it will always, unless these cards are baller, if not just OP, then it's never going to be as good as just unlocking them. Like, unlocking crystals will just always have more utility because you have more cards that can fit into exactly what you want to do. So either you have to make the cards really kind of crazy. At that point, you're trying to set up locking up a bunch of crystals and then getting crazy value out of it. And I don't know if those kinds of plays are ever really going to be effective or just going to be kind of becoming a little bit too precious. But I don't know, maybe.
I do like the idea just of playing with overloaded crystals in general, like just playing with that mechanic a little bit more. And there's actually some really good suggestions in the chat room too. Cards that cost less just for whatever overloaded crystals you have. That comes from Tom. Umberdomo is also saying maybe a spell that did X number of extra damage for each lock crystal. That could be really cool too.
That
just
I
kind
like.
of ways to use your overloaded crystals without actually just unlocking them.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I like a shield slam, like you're throwing a bunch of locks at somebody.
Beating someone with padlocks.
Just have locks on a chain.
Yeah,
Boom.
Oh, that's
exactly.
so rude.
Like a prison mace.
Apparently Thrall's going to a couple metal concerts this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, what could be kind of cool if it was spending specifically locked mana crystals, I think it'd be kind of cool if you went something down the line of spare parts, where maybe you had a card that created these little 1 mana spells, but instead of 1 mana, it was 1 overloaded mana, and maybe the card that they're attached to overload you. But they're these small kind of innocuous spells. I don't know. Something that could be kind of interesting there as
like
well.
Like the poisons that come off Zeril that we got with.
Yes. Yeah. So it's only 1, so it's not asking too much of you. It's attached to something that you're already getting some value from. Maybe you're paying a little more for whatever it is that you're doing, but you're going to get these little weird little 1 overloaded mana spells. Maybe they just let you choose one of your hero power totems, and who knows? I mean, all kinds of ways.
Yeah. I think there are. I mean, like you're right that overload feels kind of booty, and it's a little weird when you're playing it. Like although it is again, it's one of those specific shaman things, and Rogue, when you have to think about combo and stuff like that, it does affect how you think of it. And I think Blizzard is very committed, and rightfully so, to making these classes feel very specific. But with that, now the more I think about it, the more I do like having little tech ways that you can get maybe just a little something, like whether it's card draw or attack or something out of your lock crystals, even if it's like a 0 cost and maybe it doesn't unlock them, you just get something out
Well,
of it. So-
that I think is the idea. Is it doesn't unlock them. It just
Yeah.
like if you have them, you can do something. So like you would still be locked on your next turn or your current turn. So and I think like chat room saying, oh, that would make shaman more overpowered if there's no big downside. And I don't 100% know if that's true because I feel like this would be like one or two of in a deck. You wouldn't necessarily build
Yeah.
a deck around this mechanic. And right now, you know, Lava Shock is the one that unlocks your mana crystals, and people are playing one ofs, if that. Like, I don't necessarily think that getting rid of Overload or making use of the Overload mechanic, that's not necessarily going to change Shaman too much or make them too overpowered, because we already have a way to just say, oh, that Overload never happened, and it's not that powerful.
Yeah, and I think like Lava Shock, it would be most used in successful decks as part of a combo or
Eternal.
as part of a big series of plays. And if you could create cards that very much facilitated some real big swing or some aggro mechanic or something like that, then it could be useful. I think it would see play, but I don't know if it's worth putting 2 or 3 of these kinds of cards in when you're really just taking up very valuable real estate.
I mean, we already have 4. You can have 2 Lava Shocks, you can have 2 Eternal Sentinels, and we're not even seeing that much of those cards. So
Yeah.
I think it's fine. It all comes down to balance. I don't think you can say that it is or is not necessarily a bad thing or it would make it broken. It's all about the design of the card. I don't know. I thought this was interesting enough, at least to bat around a bit, and I think I enjoyed this discussion. So
Yeah. Hey, good on you, Zach.
yeah, Jocelyn, would you like to take the final email?
Yeah, last email comes to us from Tyler, who says, hey, cross cockerels? Something chicken related. A friend and I.
Cross cockerel.
There you go. A friend and I are interested in hosting a fireside gathering at a local game shop, but unfortunately, we're not into the competitive side of Hearthstone and have never participated in a fireside gathering or any sort of tournament for that matter. We need some advice on how to format a small tournament that we may be doing. I know there are a lot of different tournament formats out there, and I was curious of what style of tournament you guys would use. For the record, we have no idea how many people will be there because we haven't set it up yet, so the size of the tournament is yet to be determined. Whether you answer it on the show or not, any advice would be appreciated. So I know I run the taco tournaments, and Garrett runs fireside gatherings, so I thought that this would be really cool as just kind of giving people resources to use if you want to do your own fireside gatherings. But Garrett, you can probably speak to this a little bit more. Aren't there a lot of resources like on the BattleNet forums for Hearthstone around fireside gatherings?
There are, and there's plenty of conversation happening around the web as well, just in the forums and on Reddit and God knows where else. But there are resources on the official Hearthstone website for you. If you go clicking around the fireside gathering portion of the Hearthstone site, you'll be able to find those. But I can tell you what I think is the most important is venue first over everything else. You need to find a good venue, that you can afford. Free is wonderful if you can find a free venue. You need to find a venue that has good Wi-Fi, especially if you're going to run a tournament. The Wi-Fi needs to be copious and generous and functional. And also make sure either the place you're having it at, the venue has food or is close to food. Because you don't want to have to provide food for everyone that shows up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I know when I was in Halifax, they used to host them at bars a lot, but there's also a lot of very good Wi-Fi bars in Halifax.
Yes.
So, but again, like then you've got the booze and you've got the food, and it was a lot of fun. So, I think in terms of tournament format, Garrett, I know you have run a tournament at your fireside gatherings. Do you do double elimination, single,
No, we
Swiss?
do. We have traditionally done single elimination. We are talking about doing Swiss, but in the past, when we were doing the Tavern Hero stuff, where our winners had a chance to go play in the Fireside Gathering Championship, to have a chance to get Hearthstone Championship points and stuff like that, it had to be. At least last year, it has changed this year. I don't know exactly what it is because we've just been running for fun tournaments. But it used to be it could only be I think only 16 players tops, and it had to be single elimination. So that's what we were doing last year. So that's what we did. If you were just doing it for fun, I highly recommend do your research, learn about Swiss, because that's going to give your attendees the best playing experience. They're not,
because the thing about single elimination, even though it's a fireside gathering and there's always going to be more people to play with and to challenge, getting knocked out of a tournament just single elimination just feels pretty bad.
Yeah. That said, planning a single elimination or even planning a double elimination, more traditional bracket system is super easy and really easy to understand. And you can do it on paper last minute when people show up. You can just draw some lines. So if you're just because the thing I always like to tell anyone about starting anything, not even just firesides, people always like, how do I podcast? Just do it. Do it. Make it as little of a burden on yourself as humanly possible, and just go out and do it. So if you have no experience with Swiss, if it sounds convoluted, just go do a 16-player bracket. Say we're having 16-player bracket. It's also going to be a fireside. Everyone else shows up. Just hang out, play games, gather some prizes, do a raffle. That always gets people in the door, and it's surprisingly fun even when you don't have a ton of side events planned. A lot of people will make their own fun. And we've seen that time and time again in our fireside. The tournament fills up very fast, and there's still a ton of people that come and stay all day just to play games and watch the tournament players, and they just want to meet other people that play this game and start building a community.
So one of the arguments for keeping a simpler format is just no matter what, know more about your format than anybody else who is going to show up will, because everybody will ultimately come back to you, and confidence is key, right? And making quick decisions are key, because in any kind of competitive format, all that matters is that there is a steady hand on the tiller, and you just make sure that you are continuing to go forward.
Yes, last year when we were doing the fireside, like official fireside tournament, there was a line in the rules on the official Hearthstone page that the way it was written made it sound like you could change your decks in between rounds of the tournament. So if you're moving from round 8 to the round of 4, it made it sound like you could change your decks, which is not the case. That is definitely 100% not the case. It was using the exact same format that the Hearthstone Championship Tour was using, and they were not doing that. So we had to spell that out in blood before the tournament, because we were questioned many times by players, and we're just like, no, you cannot change your decks.
Yeah. That's just, and this is not even just for tournaments, just in any kind of competitive thing, be it family board game night or a fireside gathering, quick and final decisions are the lifeblood to fun of competitive anything, right?
Yeah.
Like just, especially when you're dealing with strangers, the little bit of, hey, that's unfair is worth it, because if you go longer and you're like, I don't know, let me look it up, then it's just going to be bad times.
Yep.
All around.
Yep.
Absolutely. You have to you need to figure out your rules ahead of time. Make sure that they're posted, preferably online beforehand. If not, printed out and hung on the wall. 8.5 by 11 paper, and the cheapest printer you can find is your best friend at a physical event.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, if you have an idea for stuff, or you have something that you want to try, throw it up in the TAC subreddit and say, hey guys, attack me with every possible fallacy that I could come out of these rules, right? Just to think about them. Like it helps that you know what you are doing more than anybody else, because trust me, I'm that know-it-all who will think that I know more about your format than you do. And if you don't immediately have an answer, I will bitch and complain.
Yep.
And the other thing is, if you guys are interested, all of the rules for the Angriest Chicken Opens that we have run are posted, and links to our tournaments and brackets and everything else. All of that is at amove.tv. So you guys can go and look at all the past stuff that we've done with our tournaments and what rules we implemented, and hopefully use that as a jumping off point.
Yep. And again, to make it easy on yourself, I'd go with either Conquest or Last Hero Standing, because there's 1,000,001 places you can go to find the exact rules. Copy, paste, print. There are your tournament rules. So yeah, just get out and do it, Taylor, because it's super fun. I know we kind of got tripped up in all of the other things that you need to worry about, but honestly, just find a venue with good Wi-Fi. Make sure people aren't going to starve, and start inviting people.
And they'll be happy, yeah.
We also let you know another tool we use. We use meetup.com, which is a fantastic tool. It is not free, but it might be worth it. Check it out, because it's a wonderful way for people local to you to find out. And also make sure you get your fireside posted on the Fireside Gathering site. It helps quite a bit. We've heard from many people that they clicked on the Fireside link in the launcher and found our Fireside. So go do that as well. So people actually show up. That's the other important thing. So have fun, Tyler, because our Firesides are a blast.
Also have fun.
Yes. Don't forget to have fun. Don't forget to have fun. Also, it's like your wedding. Remember to play some games because it's very easy if you're putting it on to not get to play any games. So, like forgetting to eat at your wedding. I wasn't saying I was mad that I couldn't play games at my wedding. Okay, maybe I was a little mad. But
You're like, listen, I know we're set to go on in like 15, but I just need to grind out a few more.
honey, I have one more star to single digits. Come on.
Exactly. Listen, I'm just trying to get my free deck for Watch and Learn. People won't win.
I can just let it run in the background. I can let it run in the background. Yep. Yeah. I had fun at our wedding because we did a photo shoot before the ceremony. So Katie and I were just hanging out behind the scenes, fully dressed up, just relaxing before the event. It was wonderful. I needed
Smart
that so
move.
bad. Oh my God.
That is a smart move.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of The Angry Chicken. Thank you, everyone, for writing in. Again, the email address is tacpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again to our patrons. Thanks to our Patreon producers, Declan H., Peter Williams, King Louie. You guys are awesome. Hey, if you listen on iTunes, we really appreciate them 5-star reviews. So thank you to #Josh. I'm glad that you made a hashtag out of your own name. Thank you to Phantasmic, Jimmy Timmy, The Anderson, and Mike from Oak Park. I know where you live, Mike. Check out our swag and merchandise over at bit.ly/amovestore. Follow us on Twitter at TAC Podcast. Catch us live every Tuesday night right here on twitch.tv/amovetv at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Big thanks to alphageekmedia.com for our mobile live stream. Justin, you're our guest. Where can folks find you when you're not, pitch hitting for Dills?
All right, so 2 things. Number 1, if you, I don't know if y'all like this game Hearthstone, but I play it on Twitch sometimes at twitch.tv/Jurystone. That again, twitch.tv/JURYSTONE. Also, if you like physical card games, I made one. It's called The Contender. You can go to thecontender.us and buy your own copy right there. We also have 2 expansions, Politically Incorrect and the 2016 expansion, which is all of the best quotes from this current political season. If you're not familiar with what The Contender is, you and your friends can reenact a presidential debate using real quotes from real candidates. I'm very, very proud of it, and I hope you guys go ahead and give it a chance. And anybody at Team 5, if y'all want some copies, holler at me. I'd be happy to send some down to you guys.
He's being honest, by the way. Team 5, he will send you free copies.
Yeah,
it's super fun too. It's a really, really good card game.
I mean, listen, I played enough of their card game. They can
They
suffer
can
some
play
of mine.
yours.
Yeah.
I have
Game
my
recognized game.
my
but
copy
yeah,
is
no,
permanently in my car because every time I'm over at somebody's house, inevitably, we end up staying longer than we mean to, usually because of beer. And it's like, hey, I've got this great game. It's right in the car.
Absolutely. Also, if you buy it off thecontender.us, make sure you put our little diamond insignia, which is our little diamond club. It's less than greater than at checkout, and I will sign your deck or your expansion, whatever you buy. I will be happy to sign it and get that out to you guys.
Oh man, my copy's not signed.
Oh, I know you.
Neither
Like,
is mine. What the
I'll
crap?
see you in like 3 weeks.
You mean when
I
you
will bring
person?
it, and I am gonna get it. I'm gonna make you sign every card.
You can sign. I mean, like we're friends. Like you can just text me and say, Justin, send me a signed thing.
Justin, I would like a signed pair of underwear.
I mean, fine, sure. We're all friends here. I will sign anything and mail it to anyone.
Oh, you probably don't want to make that promise.
Yeah.
This is where I get into trouble.
Trouble.
Yep.
So I love everybody. Go ahead and check it out. And on Twitter, Snapchat, everything, Justin R. Young is where you can find me.
Awesome. Jocelyn, how about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. You can join us on twitch.tv/AMoveTV tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern for the Gamers In. We're doing our E3 wrap-up. And also, I want you guys to go to jossplays.com because I'm going to be putting up very, very shortly my Hearthstone ladder experience for Joss versus the World, where I got coached by the guy who came second in last year's BlizzCon, Hot Form. He gave me some rogue tips. So it was a lot of fun, and you guys should definitely go check it out. That'll be up on jossplays.com very, very shortly.
Nice. You can follow me on Twitter at Garrett Art and all of the podcasts that I do over at amove.tv. Want to remind you again, we're doing a spoiler episode of Embrace the Spoiler. Well, all Embrace the Spoilers episodes are spoiler episodes about the Warcraft movie. It will be going up on the Embrace the Spoilers feed tomorrow. Search for Embrace the Spoilers wherever it is that you listen to podcasts, unless it's Stitcher. And subscribe to that for that episode. Check out The Angry Nerd, my solo show. Check out Into the Nexus, because we're having Dunk Train on this Thursday to talk about the massive Heroes of the Storm patch. And other than that, catch all three of us, Justin, Jocelyn, and myself, in Orlando, Florida, this July 30th. For CreateCon, where we'll be doing a live Angry Chicken. We will be doing a live Into the Nexus. Justin will be doing a live Night Attack with Brian Brushwood. It's going to be a good time. Tickets and details still up, still available over at createconvention.net. Thanks again to squarespace.com for sponsoring this episode. Use the code TAC for a 10% discount on your first order from them. That will do it. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!
Woo!